it's Lee Caraher, and this is Everything Speaks, where we talk about how everything you do and say speaks for you, if you want it to or not. Today, Maggie's back. Woot woot! Maggie's in the house.
Hello.
And it is Valentine's Day. We are recording this on February 14th, 2024. And today we're going to talk about the beauty of simple language. And we're going to use Valentine's Day heart, conversation hearts, to illustrate our point.
Lee, let's hang.
I only hang with you. So, as you know, 2024 is a year of clarity. And it's a beautiful thing to have a focus, because every time you don't know what to do, you just go back to your focus and go, clarity. What should we talk about? And yesterday, Maggie and I were talking about different parts of language in some of our different industries that we represent. So wine and consumer electronics and food and bev and professional services and internet businesses for consumers and all this kind of stuff. And each of these industries has its own slang and language style, which by definition exclude people. Because if you want to be in the cult of wine or video games or CPG, consumer packaged goods, or coffee, you need to know the lingo to be accepted. And that is a challenge when generations think about language differently. And you think you're being crystal clear, and you using language that other people don't understand just confuses them. So today we're going to talk about language, clarity, and being simple about it. So Megs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's just first talk about that. We were talking about it in terms of, as you all know, I've said many times, I don't understand wine. I don't know how to read a label. I was like, I don't understand what this cherry note is. Like, is there a piece of paper that says cherry in there? I don't know. So Maggie was like, Lee, you just have to understand the language. I'm like, yeah, I don't wanna. I just want to know what it is.
True. Yeah. No,
So tell me more.
You're so spot on. And we've talked before about how the wine industry has a little bit of a problem trying to connect with the younger generation. And there's so many complicated boxes that need to be checked by the industry for sure. But one easy thing that communicators of wine and food and technology and et cetera, can do is simplify the language. And I think that starts with just not assuming that the person you're in conversation with has the same experience you do in the topic, whether that's wine or whatever it is. So,
yeah,
right? So how do you simplify and with clarity, the word for 2024, communicate to your audiences what it is that you want them to do? So knowing your audience and knowing you want them to purchase your product, don't lose them in the weeds of romantic language. You know, romantic language around the wine industry was the way you talked. I mean, I can't tell you how many
LOL.
I can't tell you how many press releases and fact sheets I've written over the years where it starts with this long romantic language trying to paint the picture of the cellar and the vineyards. And it's like, forget it.
The fog rolls in over the hill from the ocean.
Right.
Casting a hydrating, I'm just making it up, hydrating mist over the grapes. Which then, I mean, something like that, right?
Right. So I think, number one, know your audience. Don't assume that they have the same vernacular that you do, or they even understand what it means. Know what it is that they want and what you want them to do, and simplify your message about the wine. So we talked about, and we can talk about this for food. We can tell you, food's already doing it, by the way.
Oh yeah. Food's totally doing it.
Right. And, you know, wine.
Sweet, they're doing it.
screen. It's so cool how they're positioning themselves with simple language to help them understand the nutrition value,
Mhm.
the benefits, the one thing I wanted to mention was this, is it Poppy? What's that really cool
Yeah,
new
Poppy's a new
soda
soda.
that had this terrific ad?
Yeah,
The
we did.
best ad, in my opinion, one of the best ads in a geeky way during
Yeah,
the
not
Super
the funny
Bowl,
way, but the geeky way during the Super
in the
Bowl.
geeky way of messaging a new product that is a traditional soda targeting the younger demographic in simple language and beautiful packaging
Yep.
with the target audience.
Yeah.
And what did I read this morning? Like Coca-Cola is already frothing at the mouth to buy Poppy.
Of course
So
they are.
right. So it's just like that is the wine industry could really take a message from Poppy in terms
Yeah.
of communicating simple language, the benefits and the opportunity to enjoy product.
I think sometimes we get caught up with, so in the video game business from which I come, the super hardcore gamer, we would stratify our target by what kind of games they liked. So are they RPGers? Are they
Mhm.
first role play, which is a RPG? Like I mean, RPG is a role playing game where you assume a role. Are they first person shooters, which is when you have the gun and the view is of your arm basically with the weapon, but you would just call it FPS, RPG, da da da, all these things. And when you were talking to business reporters, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And of course, it's billions and billions of dollars. But we were like, and in
Mhm.
the RPG business, da 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 da, and then the FPS, da da da. And I remember at Sega, so this is so long ago, but we basically we created this lexicon that we sent to all reporters. This is what it is. And this is what a polygon count means. And this is what collision detect. These inside, I'm going to use a term I'm not supposed to use. Inside baseball
Baseball,
term,
right?
which means what it means is only people who really understand baseball and all the statistics and all that kind of stuff understand it. So very inside the industry shortcuts for people in the know, in the biz. They project it onto consumers, users, players, gamers. Now, the core gamers, they're all about it. That's not a high enough polygon count. The collision detection in this sucks. I dropped through the platform. All these things, which are totally, industry developer terms. But when you're the core, hardcore, you're actually competing for money video gamer. That's one sliver of the audience. If you
Right.
use those if you explain, at the time, Myst was the RPG that was so role playing game that was like sweeping everything. But if a new person coming into the genre, coming into video games, RPG, what? What? Do I have to have been a Dungeons and Dragons player to play this game? I
Right.
mean, and really, even though video games, and they've gotten much better, it's gotten much better, but the exclusionary language, it's only for these hardcore players. No one else could get it but these hardcore players. And that was the point of view. Well, how stupid is that? There are only so many hardcore anything of any
Right.
category, right?
Right.
And markets aren't made by just hardcore. Markets are made by bringing more people in, and having levels of hardcore, not just the hardcore. So it's not just
Right.
about wine, it's about every industry.
Right. And the current of consumers that you're really trying to capture, they're just streaming past you because they don't get it, they don't care, they don't have time.
Yeah,
They're following or going to the things they understand. And right. So
right.
if you want to connect with that consumer, then you need to get in their flow and speak their language. It's really quite simple,
It's
but
simple. And the
they're
other piece of that is something to remember too is, so I would say for video games and for other things, right? At the beginning, when we worked for Cliff Bar for many years.
mm,
And they were the first, it's all about organic, and all the legislation around organic really dictated what you could and could not say. But, at that time, which is now 20, we started working for them 20 years ago, 20 years ago ish. They were the wackos, right? It was all right, you got to get the wackos on board, because if the wackos don't believe that you're organic, it doesn't matter, because, and I mean, I didn't mean it pejoratively. I just meant like these people are in it, and they will look at the back of your label inside out till Tuesday. They want to know where it comes from. And you can't, at a beginning of a market, you cannot dismiss those people. You have to bring them along, but then you have to explain to everybody else what it is. And now today, so that was when Cliff Bar was like the only game. It was Power Bar and Cliff Bar. Now you go down Target Energy Bar. It has a whole aisle. It has a whole aisle.
Yeah.
There are minimum 50 competitors in the same space. When consumers have choice, and it's not just one or two, but have 30, 40, 50 choices, the company, the product, the brand that welcomes people in is going to be the one that wins.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And in our, we are so blessed to be in this country where we have so many choices of everything we have choices on. The more you can welcome people in with inclusive language that doesn't shun people, for lack of a better term, or just like, what the hell are they talking about? I'm on to the next.
Right.
The better off you'll be.
Totes.
And for those of you listening, not watching this, Mags just put up her heart and said totes, because that's what it said. Mine just said love you. But I'm just going to eat that
Any
one.
excuse for a conversation heart.
Any excuse for a conversation heart. Laugh. So, totes. See? Totes my goats, as you would say. Oh my God. We talked on this podcast a while ago about inclusive language in culture, in the work culture, and how hard it has been for me.
Yes.
Harder for me than probably everybody else.
No, I think it's hard for everybody. It's new. It's work. It is work.
And it really is. That is what really woke me up to, brought attention to the fact that we don't even see it, how much jargon we use.
Right.
We don't even, because it's just part of our lexicon. And then when we hired a new person. She started in January, only not from this industry. And the one, Alexis, who is her manager, bringing her on board, she was talking about how she's breaking everything down, making sure that she doesn't use the acronyms, which we've been really working on, not just using acronyms.
Yes.
Because it'll shorten the onboarding process. Because no one wants to think they're stupid. Even when we say, just raise your hand if you have any questions. There are no bad questions. If you don't know, ask. No one wants to feel dumb, like they should have known what an MSR is, or what is UVM if you don't know UVM.
Right.
MSR is our monthly status report, which we give to every client that they never read. They don't ever read them, but they're super important. There'll be another podcast on that. And or UVM, unique visitors monthly, whatever those things are. We have to break things down so people don't move along their day, move along months, and not know what they're talking about. Right.
Well, and someone may think they know what it means, and then all of a sudden they're sending the client the monthly service report, and it's like, it's not a service report, it's a status report.
Nice. Right. Even DE&I, right? So we don't even use DEI. Some people don't know what that means. They think they know what it means. But we now spell it all out: diversity, equity, inclusion. Even on our Slack channels, like our leadership team used to be LT. Now we spell it out on our Slack channels. We spell it out on our Monday channels, because if you spell things out, there can be no confusion.
Yeah. The opportunity to save time, and while at the same time just propping up your teams so they feel like they understand and they feel included, is pretty easy to do if you just stop and right.
And that's the same thing with brand language.
Right, that's right. And so I would suggest that we in the wine industry have been extremely lazy in this department and have fallen into the habit of thinking that the language we're using to describe our products and the packaging we're using to present them, we're just hitting our head against the wall and not understanding. And it's really, really quite simple. The wine industry can fix this.
Yes. The beauty of the heart, of the candy heart, the Brock's conversation heart, is that it's a very limited space. So you have to convey your thought in like 8 letters or less.
Laugh out loud because I'm choosing to be inclusive, LOL.
LOL. The
Yes. So anyway,
so let's talk about and it doesn't mean that you wouldn't use the language you've had. Once you go deeper to understand it, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't use, oh, this is what a cherry note is, or this is why the temperature here and the weather here matters. As opposed to assuming that people understand why, a coastal fog would be good for grapes. It just means, how do you get people into your boat with you?
Yeah.
So that they can go deeper, right? So they can be invited. You're inviting people into your boat. And then the longer they, I don't know, I'm making stuff up. The longer they row with you, the more they understand, right?
Right.
So that entry point is super important. Now, of
Yes.
course, if you're talking about a $500 item in any category versus a 20-cent item in any category, 20-cent item requires lots of volume. I mean, incredible amount of volume to make any money. Whereas a $100 item doesn't require that much volume. And so you would assume that people who know more, or they just value something that's expensive, right? That's totally different. But in general, then, there's so many options in every single category. There's a generation that does not need to know all the ins and outs of anything.
Right.
Be involved. And then how do you bring them along? And another category I think is really interesting on this is beauty.
Yes.
And the beauty influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching someone on TikTok yesterday. I hit pan on this blush. I'm like, hit pan, what does that mean? Hit pan is like she shows her pan. She shows her, her blush, which was powder blush. So it was in a case. And she'd used it so many times that you could see the bottom of the pan it was in. That's what it means. I hit pan. And hit pan is code for, I like it so much, I keep using it and I don't throw it away before it's done. Learn something new, right? Every industry has it.
But I think too, I look at one category in the sporting world. When you look at equipment for tennis, so I'll use that as an example because I love that sport. When you're first starting out, the entry level racket, they're very clear about the communication of what an entry level racket can help you do when you're hitting the ball. When you get further on in the sport, the complexity of what a racket can offer you at your level of play grows with the consumer's knowledge. Because if you're at that point, if you're a 4.5 player, if you're high up, the complexities of what you're looking for to help you with topspin or to help you with speed or to help you with whatever it is. And when you're starting out with a brand new racket, it's very, very simple, and the engineering of that and the marketing of that is pretty easy to understand right out of the gate. With some other categories,
right?
It's very complicated to begin with
From the beginning.
So then why bother? Because my day is so busy. I have so many other things on my mind. I don't like that feeling of not being in the know.
Yes.
I don't like that feeling of being on the outside. So I'm just not even going to invest time in that category. I could not care less.
Right.
So
there's so many other things you could do.
Right. So if
right?
you're buying a $300 bottle of wine, you care about hand-picked berries. You care about an ocular sorting table. You care about, open fermented punch down. You care that different lots are being aged in different oak and then blended at the end and bottled for 18 months. And you care who the winemaker is. You care who the vintner is. You care, all of that matters. But if you're buying a $12 bottle of wine, you don't care that there's fog in the vineyard.
Even $30, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. So I, you know, I'm repeating myself, but I just think it's simple. Knowing your audience is so important. Who are you talking to and what do you want them to do?
Yeah. So what's a good way? So we're talking almost with every client on this, how to be simpler. Sometimes being simpler is being longer. Like it ends up being a longer sentence,
Mm-hmm.
but the comprehension is higher, faster. What you're going for is comprehension fastest, the fastest comprehension possible. And whatever you have to do for that, based
Right.
on who your audience is.
Right.
So, a couple ways to do it would be you could do a acronym searcher, right? How many
Yeah.
acronyms do I have in this document? How many
Right.
acronyms do I have in the subject line? What are my
Right.
acronyms? And even if you just spelled out your acronyms, that's going to get you to the next point. The next piece, if there's an acronym, it probably needs a definition,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what's the definition of the acronym? We're doing some work now in the healthcare space, which from a community's perspective, and healthcare has its own set of language. And I find our team is like looking up the words going, let's make sure we use that the right way. Because it could mean death. I don't know what it means,
Right. No, it's true.
But every time you use an acronym, I mean, that could be the first level. Look at your acronyms, spell them out, and describe them at least the first time. That could be your first piece. Then I think the next piece is if you talk to somebody who's not in the industry, like in our team. So that's one of the reasons we have different teams and different industries. We don't just do one thing because we believe that people who have multiple insights in different industries can bring knowledge from each industry to bear on the other one, and it makes everything better. But if for instance, I read something for yours and from something for wine, and I didn't know what half of it was. I'm like, Maggie, what does this say?
Right.
And you had done the same for me on this healthcare thing. Like, Lee, I don't know what this says.
Yeah.
So having someone who's not on the account or having
Very
an
important.
outside person look at it, super important if you want
Mhm.
people to understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what's interesting, I think too, is I was just thinking about this while you were saying that. I find that our pitches to the media and even our press releases, because you spell it out and then you do the acronym.
Mhm.
First
Not
reference.
everybody does. We
Not,
do.
yes, right.
I mean, if you
So
go
if
look
you're
at
not
Business
doing that,
Wire,
if you're not doing that, do that.
yeah.
And I say that with love.
Green
But I
love.
think, but I think the thing is that it's so interesting because in our pitches in our conversations with the media, we really simplify it because we're talking, okay, when we're talking to wine media and trades, that's different because they're in the industry and they understand. But so much of what we do is we talk to freelance writers who also
Right.
write travel and food and lifestyle.
Real estate.
Right. That's right.
Right.
Freelancers these days, they're multifaceted. They write about a lot of topics. And so you can't assume that they understand. And you have to remember that they're speaking to an audience that does not understand. So it's so interesting that we are already taking the language from the marketing teams. We're already taking that language and simplifying it for the media so they can talk to the consumer. So
Right.
now the opportunity is just
Right to the consumer.
right. And also to talk to the marketing teams
Yeah.
about how can you simplify for
Mhm.
your audiences as well. So, and that isn't true in healthcare. That is
True in
true
beauty,
in
true
food.
in wellness. It's true in
Exactly.
everything. There's nothing it's not true for,
Right.
except for conversation hearts that only have 8 letters on them. I don't know how much more clear these could be. Nice, this one says. So we're going to wrap this up because I'm not sure how more we could say this except to say it all over again.
Right.
Think about any communication. Like, can you get it onto a heart? Can you get it onto 3 hearts in a row? Like when you're creating a sentence or whatever, those Enneagram things. What can you convey in 8 letters? What can you convey in the space of a teeny weeny conversation heart?
Little heart.
And if you can think of it that way, that's going to help you so much simplify your language. And if you can simplify your language, you'll be welcoming more people in. And there's no market that doesn't need more people.
That's right.
The
Well
end.
said. That's on a heart.
That's it. That would fit on the heart. Well said. I don't see that as a heart, but we need that as a heart. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, happy Valentine's Day, Lee.
Okay, BFF. Now, see,
All
that's
right.
an acronym.
Love you.
Love you. All right, everybody. Until next time, I'm Lee Carher, and this is Everything Speak.